Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope you're doing well. Look, I got a new fragrance. Almost. It's the new Viktor Rolf Spicebomb Dark Leather. Actually, I ordered this on eBay forever ago. It came all the way from Europe, and a lot of times when you order from Europe, it actually comes pretty quickly. This did not, but it did finally arrive, so now we can talk about it. Perfect timing, because I noticed today that they actually started listing this online in the US. So it is showing out of stock. So I'm assuming it's like placeholders for this to eventually pop up as being in stock and actually purchasable, which will probably be any day now. It's going for $140 US. That's according to Sephora. I'll have this link in the description. Feel free to check it out there. And as usual here, we're gonna go over just the presentation, how it smells, and kind of how it impressed or depressed me with the first couple wearings that I've had. Now before we hop into the fragrance and start checking it out in all of its glory, here are some codes you can use to save yourself some money, including some new codes for JOMASHOP that only work in the JOMASHOP app, and I have actually used that code myself with a purchase that I made. Actually kind of annoying on the JOMASHOP app when I was checking out. I was like putting in my address and it wanted to auto-complete the address, and anytime I tried to do that, it would error out. So if that's happening to you, just don't auto-complete it. You have to type it out all on your own. Very sad. There's also a code for the Oud store and all the other codes as usual. Let's go ahead and check out the presentation. So here we have the front of the box. You have the name of the fragrance, name of the house, size, and concentration. It's an eau de parfum. You have the Viktor and Rolf logo on top of the box. Little QR code on one side. On the back, a whole bunch of information, including your ingredients. And on the bottom, you have your badge code. Badge code here, 22Y51DR. Here we have the bottle done in your typical Spicebomb style, has kind of a matte black finish to it, and you have a faux leather sticker going around the middle of the bottle. Have the name of the fragrance there on the front, concentration as well. As usual, looks like a little grenade with a Viktor and Rolf pull tab. On the bottom, you have a sticker with your badge code, and this one, thankfully, did not leak all over hell and half the universe. I say that because the last time that I got a Spicebomb infrared eau de parfum, that stuff was just leaking everywhere, and I think I had to get 3 replacement bottles before I got one that wasn't just excessively leaking and peeling and just a complete mess. Now that being said, this one does have a little bit of leakage, which you can make out, but it's not a big deal. Like, I'll roll with it. I'll show you guys. So maybe you can make that out. I'll give the bottle a little spin here, but there is kind of like liquid spots that will pop up, like right here, for example, when you spray the bottle. And it's not from the atomizer. So it's not the atomizer spraying and then kind of like touching, you know, the tip the tip of the lip here. It's just, it leaks a little bit from underneath. It was like that when I pulled it out of the box, but like I said, it's not a big deal because it's not leaking excessively, so I'll roll with it. Let's go ahead and share a couple sprays here so you can check out the atomizer. There we go, nice atomization. So, Spicebomb. So let's talk about Spicebomb a little bit. The original Spicebomb at this point is considered a bit of a modern masterpiece, modern classic even. And it is true to its name. Lots of spices in that fragrance, big compliment puller, great performance, and then Spicebomb Extreme for a lot of people took that to the next level. It introduced a great black vanilla note to it, actually tamed down the spices a little bit. Still has them very prominently, just not as aggressive off the top, a little bit smoother, sweeter, richer. So for a lot of people, Spicebomb Extreme, those changes it made, it pushed everything a step further, made it even better, higher quality, longer lasting, more of a compliment puller, just the whole deal. Then you had Bulgari Man in Black, which was very obviously inspired by Spicebomb. So you could see there where, you know, the success of Viktor and Rolf Spicebomb was starting to rub off on other brands. You did have the Spicebomb line kind of start to creep away a little bit from what made Spicebomb Spicebomb with releases like Night Vision, which, you know, is a different take. on the DNA, different style. You also had Spicebomb Eau Fraiche, which is much more difficult to find nowadays. Basically, it was supposed to be a fresher version of the Spicebomb DNA. And then things kind of went off the rails a little bit with Spicebomb Night Vision, which really wasn't all that spicy. Now, I'm not saying they're awful fragrances. They work for a lot of people. They're also very versatile, compliment pulling, all that stuff, but not what people came to expect of a Spicebomb fragrance. Then you had the infrared fragrances, which yes, brought spices back into the fold in a more prominent way. And those were quite sweet and not super close to the OG. And now we have this. So, you know, how does this fall in? How does this work? How does it smell? Does it bring us back to the OG Spicebomb, something completely different? Like, what's the deal? I'm actually gonna spray this on my skin a couple times as well. First off, good news. It actually smells awesome off the top. I love the way this stuff smells. It has that nice spicy kick, but it's not as aggressive as the OG. It's got a nice sweetness to it as well. So this kind of cinnamon, nutmeg, tobacco melding in the open, it's just really attractive. And the leather, you can pick it up immediately. It's a smooth leather, sweet, not really animalic, but it does have like a little dark edge to it. So this is going to remind you a little bit of fragrances like the original Spicebomb, Spicebomb Extreme, Bulgari Man in Black. Yes, it does indeed kind of follow that style that was set by the earlier fragrances. So for those of you who really did not like what they did with Night Vision, didn't like what they did with Infrared, this probably is going to be a welcome change, you know, bringing it back more in line with those OG releases. And truth be told, actually, in the opening, I think I like this more just scent-wise than those three I just mentioned. It is really addictive when you first spray this stuff on. Like, I love the way this opens. It's a really appealing designer leather. It has just enough of a mysterious edge, just enough of that sexy leather aspect to it, but then a really wearable, sweet, warm top that kind of grabs your attention right away. It also has a little bit of an elegance to it, a sophisticated touch. It has a slight bit of freshness when you first spray it on. It's very lively. It's got a nice like zing to it as well. So as I said, the opening, I think is killer. Smells great. One of, if not the best smelling Spicebomb fragrances off the top. As it heads into the mid, you know, that fresh aspect is going to die away. You're gonna have more of that leather that kind of steps up, and it's, again, a kind of a sweet, warm leather, maybe a hint of smokiness through there, not overbearing, not overwhelming, just like a touch, you know, the remembrance of smoke, like a little waft. And it's still really appealing, still very, very nice smelling in the mid and the dry down. So those are all good things. 140 bucks. It's not too bad nowadays. For full retail, I'll take that. It goes back to what made the line and actually improves on it in some ways. The smell is sexy, easy to wear, cozy. Like I said, a little mysterious as well, slight dark touch to it, which makes sense. The name is dark leather after all. So these are all really, really good things. But unfortunately, there is a drawback. Yes, there is indeed. So what is that drawback? Well, probably realistically, the last thing that you would think. Spicebomb is known, by and large, to have fragrances that perform. Yeah, you get where I'm going now. And this one is called Dark Leather. It's an eau de parfum, Spicebomb Dark Leather Eau de Parfum. It's gotta have at least a solid pop, a strong pop of projection, you know, a nice scent cloud as you move around, good longevity. After all, Spicebomb, Spicebomb Extreme, those are monsters. Infrared, Night Vision, they get the job done. And when you first spray this on, actually, in the opening, when it smells amazing, it's got pretty good projection. So when you first blast this on, it is all good. Everything is starry-eyed. You're like, all right, we got a hit. Problem is, as it starts to dry down, it sits pretty close to the skin. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not Sauvage Eau Forte close to the skin. And unlike Sauvage Eau Forte, I only bring that up because it's a very recent release as of when I'm filming this one that has questionable performance. But unlike Sauvage Eau Forte, this one at least has some life to it. Like when you smell it off the top, you know, like I said, it has a little zing to it. It has some action going on. Sauvage Eau Forte, very strangely, when you smell it, just smells flat. And I'm not gonna get into a whole Sauvage Eau Forte thing, but it does have this very flat feeling to it. It's hard to describe unless you've smelled it. It's almost like if you think of fragrances like a carbonated beverage, you know, they sparkle, right? They have that zinginess to them, that life to them, where it's kind of like bubbling there. And you can smell that when you smell a carbonated beverage of any sort. But if you let it go flat and then you go smell it, you're like, ugh. And if you taste it, same thing. You know, if it's carbonated, it's all bubbly, zingy. When you taste a flat drink that's supposed to be carbonated, same thing with tasting a carbonated beverage. That's like Sauvage Eau Forte. When you drink something that's carbonated, it's very bubbly, very zingy, right? And if you drink what was carbonated but is now flat, like a flat soda, you'll be like, oh, ugh. That's smelling Sauvage Eau Forte. It smells like a flat carbonated beverage taste. This has nice zing to it initially, great push. It's just, it suddenly dies and goes and sits real close to the skin. And I gotta say, as far as the longevity here, it's not as good as the other Spicebomb fragrances. And if you're comparing it directly, like side by side with Spicebomb Extreme, it is noticeably weaker. And I know Spicebomb Extreme is really strong, so you're like, well, that's not necessarily the greatest thing to compare it to. But going back to the whole Sauvage thing, it becomes a bigger problem because of the line that it's in. So what I mean by that is, with Sauvage, those fragrances are known for performance. So when Eau Forte has garbage performance, it stands out even more. The Spicebomb fragrances are known for big performance. So when you have one that has performance that's middling, it stands out even more. Because if you're like, okay, every fragrance in the line averages on a scale of 1 to 10, like an 8 or a 9 in terms of performance. And then this one comes in and it's a 5 or a 4, it's gonna look even worse. And that's kind of what's going on here. It has good projection initially, then it sits close to the skin, lingers for a little while, but it's not strong. And so it ends up being one of those situations where you could use this as a more subtle, sexy kind of date night fragrance. That would work. But if you're looking for a powerhouse fragrance, you're gonna probably be disappointed after it goes out of the top, out of the open, and starts to dry down. Because I can smell it easily. Where I sprayed it over here, I can pick it up easily. But I also know, based off of these last couple days, that's gonna start to fade pretty soon. Now I am cautiously hopeful that maybe, and this is probably just shooting at stars, you know it's not gonna happen, but I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe the performance will improve. I don't think it's gonna happen, but maybe I come back in, you know, a month or two, you know, when it starts to get cool outside and spray this on and ooh, the performance is a little better. And if that's the case, fantastic, because I love the smell. It's let down a bit by the performance, yeah. So I think this one for a lot of people is gonna be a personal call as far as whether that is something they can overlook or not. For some people, they're not gonna mind and they're gonna think, oh, you know, it's a little more subtle, but I love the way it smells, I'm okay with it. Other people are gonna be like, the performance is not acceptable, this is not what a Spicebomb fragrance should be, and therefore, I think it's a bad release. I'm a little bit split. I would like to see this have better performance, hands down, because the smell is spot on for me. I love the smell. It's a little tweak, a little change on the original, and I like what they've done. I like the leather that's in here. Kind of walks that line between giving you something that's easy to wear and approachable while still having a little little bit of an edge to it. I like that. It's just that performance, man. That performance needs a kick in the pants. It needs to be pumped up. It needs to have better projection. It needs to have better longevity. And that's kind of where we're at. It is a letdown after the opening, because the opening starts on such a high note and then it goes, Those are my first impressions on Spicebomb Dark Leather. As far as the scent goes, I love this stuff. As far as the performance, I do wish that it was better. Even if this is the best it's gonna be as far as performance goes, I mean, yes, that's gonna be a letdown, but I'll still use it, just with the understanding that it's gonna be more of a subtle scent profile once the top kind of dries into the mid, and it'll be what it is. Something where I enjoy the smell and think, that close. But truth be told, man, I would much rather have that than like Night Vision Eau de Toilette 2.0, you know? So, it's kind of like a monkey's paw, right? You go, I wish there was a Spicebomb that had an amazing opening that brought it back closer to the original Spicebombs. Then it goes, crap performance. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thank you so much. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.